So a couple people have been waiting about 2 years for me to take this pack back apart so they can see how it's built. So let's see, I've taken this off, okay? And these are the original Prius rods. There's one Prius rod still left over there. However, this one gets converted to a piece of aircraft cable using a swaging tool. The reason you do this is it's underneath the air intake. So you can't have that rod there, it'll block the air. So you have to replace it with this piece of cable. Okay, and all I did was I took one of the tubes and tapped it, drilled it. You know, there's like a little bit of modifications you have to do in fabrication, but not a big deal. So you take this off, and you know, little weird stuff you have to do. Like this washer had to be ground down on one side and make it flat in order to fit in the case. But that stuff, when you try to put it together, you'll see you need to do this or that. Just like I ground the tops off the nylon there to make it flat. I mean, some of this is just common sense stuff as you put it together. So we have two pieces of aluminum angle. This one's wider than this one, probably because I had that piece and I bought one piece, so that's the only reason it's different. Both of them have been cut to make them that high. Okay, how high is it? I can get my pinky under there. You'll just have to measure from the bottom of the batteries to the top of where it hits your inside case, and that's how tall that needs to be. I'm going to say it's 1/2 inch, but it could be less. This piece, which was this wide, was also that wide down here. So before you cut this, you tap it for all your bolt holes for your batteries, and then you try to get where the cracks are and drill a hole. And that's probably however big it is, doesn't matter, whatever size you want to make it. You drill a hole, then you cut it. And that's how you get these weird little bat wing vent holes. Okay, so you drill it first, then you cut it for height. So you'll take your Prius case, you'll cut your rods down and tap them. You'll replace one rod with this piece of aircraft cable. What length? Well, whatever length you make the other side. And then we have our PTC strips that I've talked about before. You can see they're U-shaped. If we go to the other side, you can see they're actually got male-female lugs on them. So each one is one U-shape, and then I plug them all together. If I fabricated another one of these, I would just put a resistor in the PTC connector and forget those strips. They're for catastrophic failure, which I don't think you're ever going to have with a Prius battery versus the Honda battery. But if you want to make them, take them all out of your old batteries. And you'll notice they're really not a big long strip. They're a bunch of little strips about 3 inches long, soldered together. So you can unsolder them, solder them together into big long U-shapes, put bends on them, solder these tabs on. If you want to go through all that mess, that's what I did. But the circuit is like that. And here's one end. And it goes like that, U-shapes, and here's the other end, way over here. And that is connecting right into the standard Honda inside cable, which has a lot of holes, but only a few wires. Those wires are the PTC strips, two wires, and then the rest are thermistors. There's thermistors, temperature sensors attached to your round batteries, and one just lays in the case. So what I did was, arbitrarily, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth crack, there's a thermistor, this wire right here, and it's just kind of shoved down there and hot glued in so it doesn't fall out. So that's on the fourth crack. 5, 6, 7. On the seventh crack, here's another one. Okay, and it's just shoved down in that crack right there. 7, 8, 9, 10. On the 11th one, here's another one. Okay, and I believe that's all of the ones that are shoved in. And then there's a free-floating one. This one here is just free-floating, hanging out there. And I just let it lay on top of the pack. That duplicates how Honda did it. They had 3 embedded in the little round D cells, and then one just floating around. So I just put it on there for the heck of it. I have all of these little thermistors right here that are inside the temperature well of the Prius batteries that Toyota never used. So I've got 20 of these thermistors hot glued down inside of here. They're going to something totally different, and you don't have to do this. That's all this wiring here going to an RS-232 cable. So I have 20 sensors inside the batteries. one sensor on the outside air leaving the battery, one sensor on the intake air coming in, for a total of 22 thermistors. None of that you have to do, okay? So if you're just trying to replicate what the Honda Insight does, you just need to concentrate on this connector right here. If you're going to do the PTC strips, you'll have to make all that and hook it up, or just cut it and put a resistor on it and just fool the system and let it think the batteries are always running cool, because it still has your other thermistors that are in, right in here on the batteries. But if you really want to have that thermistor PTC protection, you can go fabricate these things. They're a huge pain in the butt, okay? And they're just laid in a strategic point. When you put them in, you'll notice that here's the battery terminal, and there's one little line. They're on the second line on purpose, because that's the best place for them to fit, because there's nubs on these batteries for aligning and connecting. That's the only place you can put these where it's not going to interfere, and you can just squash them together. So it's got to be the second line down. But again, ignore my massive thermistor spine, all these wires here, okay? That has nothing to do with what you're doing. You're only interested in this wire that has 3 thermistors sandwiched between the batteries, one free floating, and your PTC strips. That's the Honda way. And so you can see that it's not like the Prius, okay? We got 2 pieces of angle, the batteries are all bolted to the angles, and that's it. That's all that holds these batteries together. Then we clamp them so they can't swell. And then when we shove them in the plastic case, the case keeps them from moving around and falling in and out and all that. Maybe I'll show that later when I put that back together. But now I have 1 or 2 degraded cells. But I've spent 2 weeks going over all of this and finding date-matched cells. So everything in here will be made on April 20, 4/20, 2004, I think. So they're all going to be date-matched. These 5 increase the entire pack because it gets rid of some lower batteries in there. 2 are bad, 3 are degraded enough that this is going to boost the entire pack up. So now I've got to follow this plan I came up with after doing all this testing and math, and there's like tons of these sheets of this stuff. I got like 5 of these sheets. And anyhow, it gets down to the very bottom, which is the part I'm about to do now. Remove and discard modules 2, 8, 15, 17, 18. Remove and save module 5. Remove and save module 13. Remove and save module 19. Relocate module 3 into slot 2. And that completes sensor pair 1. Relocate module 12 into slot 3. Sensor pair 2 is complete. Relocate module 10 into the 12 slot. Sensor pair 6 is complete. Relocate module 13 into 5 slot. Sensor 3 is complete. Relocate module 5 into the 19 slot. Sensor pair 10 is complete. Relocate 19 into the 15 slot, 8 is complete. Install the new module 6A into the 10 slot, 5 is complete. And install 4A into the 8 slot, sensor 4 is complete. Install 2A into the 13 slot, sensor 7 is complete. Install new module 9A into the 17 slot. And install new module 13A into the 18 slot, and that completes sensor 9. And the reason for all that gobbledygook right there is that we test all these batteries, 35 of them total, and we go first of all for amp hour, okay, so they're all about 6 amp hour or greater, but then we look at on the high end of the charge, when it's getting overcharged, what's the battery spread, because we want to keep it narrow. So we dropped all these batteries out and we picked 20 that are right up here. Then we have 20 sensors, just like the Prius has, or we had 10 sensors, just like the Prius, which has 28 modules, has 14 sensors. The Honda has 20 batteries with 10 sensors that are sensing paired voltage. So we take the best, highest voltage and the lowest voltage and pair them together to split the difference between the two. And as we do that, all the sensors, those 10 sensors I just talked about, are going to think the battery's operating right here. And we won't get any sensor errors. So that's what all that gobbledygook is about, all this pairing that's going on. And it even tells us the new pairing is 1, 3, 4, 12, 5, 20, 6, 13, 7, 4A, 9, 6A, 10, 11, 14, 2A, 16, 19, 9A, 13A. This is 10 pairs. Then it doesn't matter which sensors they're on, but they've got to be in 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8. So instead of taking the whole battery apart and rebuilding it, I went through all the trouble to figure out what do I have to do step by step in order to do the least amount of work And this allowed me to leave 1, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 14, 16, and 20 in there. I don't have to mess with them. I don't have to unglue the thermistors. So I only have to work with 11 positions to do all this. It's amazing, isn't it?